we're gonna go ahead and introduce our next speaker for the day. Our next speaker for today is Mr. Edgar Malomane. Mr. Edgar Malomane is an ambitious and driven soon to be lawyer with a strong academic background. Originally from Tzaneen, Limpopo, he has achieved district level recognition for his matric results and went on to graduate from the University of Pretoria with an LLB degree, earning a cumulative average of 75.09%. He is currently articling at Weber Wenzel, one of South Africa's top five law firms, where he has worked on exciting deals in competition law, mining law, and labor law. Passionate about giving back to his community, Edgar is committed to helping students navigate the transition from high school to university, particularly those interested in pursuing a career in law. He looks forward to connecting with like minded individuals and sharing his experience to inspire and support the next generation of leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Mr. Edgar Malomane.
Um, so as Walu has already said, I'm Edgar Malomane, and I am an articling lawyer to be, as she has said. So I've been in the space now for a period of 3 years. Normally your articles would take 2 years, but I had a few hurdles with having my admission accepted. So it extended for me. So hence I'm in the 3rd year now. I am particularly practicing in employment law and in health and safety. So employment law basically deals with the employment relationship between the employer and the employees. And the health and safety is like a subcategory of labor law, which basically deals with workplaces, hazardous activities at the workplace, at the mines, in offices, and the like. Yeah. So now this is my journey. I actually started doing law because I was so fascinated about the idea of justice. I remember for me, it was that when you do law, you're going to become someone who advocates for those who do not have a voice. Although, my views has changed a little bit, because when you work in a corporate world, you realize that the impact that you have is not as the same as, just, ideally speaking, helping people from, different backgrounds, and helping people who are at a vulnerable place, or vulnerable situation, because we mostly don't represent individuals. We represent the companies, and it's quite sad, but it's about powers and who stands, because a company would normally have a higher position and the employees would be in a less position. So basically, the justice there, but there is justice, trust me. And I went to the University of Pretoria. That was in 2019. And prior to that, I was at a school in Tzaneen called Ramatau. I actually went to the same school with Walu Zulu. I think for me, high school was where my journey started. It was where I saw the need to be motivational driven, simply because I think that's where I started understanding that I must set myself goals, I must set myself goals, and I must try be as consistent as I can, to achieve those goals. And I must be realistic in setting the goals. It's one thing to set a goal, but it's another not to live up to achieving that goal. For one, when I was doing matric, I remember we is me and my family, we just moved to a new street. We did not have power, electricity. And luckily for me, in my school, there was a program where we would stay up, all night, kind of, until like around 10 or so p.m. And I mean, I used that opportunity to study and stuff because I knew if I come home early, I would not, be able to study at night. Otherwise, I'd have to use a candle. So I I used that opportunity for me when I was doing grade 12 to to help me achieve my goals and to help me set up the goals that, I would have liked to achieve. I think many of them I thought at the time were very unrealistic. But I mean, when you set up a goal and you put the steps towards achieving that goal, and you realize that you, I mean, you complete each and every step to help you achieve. I mean, it's not just, it's not just a hit and run. It's you gotta understand that it's a progressive achievement into achieving something bigger that you would wish for yourself. So that was that. And I remember when I joined university, it was quite difficult for me because I went to the University of Pretoria and I was not so much used to being in a space like that. And I got so scared. I thought to myself, what if I'm actually not capable for this? What if I cannot do this? I mean, I understand I did what I did, I achieved what I achieved at high school, but what if this is not for me? Um, but then started doing more research, started doing and understanding what I am actually doing, understanding what I'm actually studying. And I remember in my first year, there was about 2 modules where I was the first student, top learner student. So for that, for me, I think that's when I actually started realizing my capabilities, to say, actually, when you set up the goals and you do what you need to do to achieve those goals, it's almost like it's achievable. I mean, it's about what you do and it's about how you plan to do it. So that was my educational journey, and then I finished at the University of Pretoria in 2022, and in 2023 I started doing my articles. Right. Um, so in Weber Wenzel, which is where I practice, when you do articles, you rotate in 3 departments. During this time, I rotated in the competition law, which is an area of law that deals with please tell me if I'm out of time. I'm Walu or someone. So
So
I
yes, there are time indications in your direct messages that are sent to
okay,
you.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you so much. Check that. Okay. So yeah, I mean, you rotate in 3 departments. I first rotated in the competition law department that deals with mergers and acquisitions, and that deals with monopolies in the markets, companies and how companies compete with other companies. And then I went on to do a dispute resolution, which basically deals with the court processes, the high courts, the Constitutional Court, the Supreme Court of Appeal, and arbitrations as well being the large part of it. And then I rotated lastly in the employment law and health and safety, which is where I have been retained in for my practice. So in the employment law and health and safety, like I've said, we represent employers, mostly, mainly. So we represent them in arbitrations. So this is how it would work. Sometimes employers would dismiss their employees. And the employees would refer the matter to the CCMA, alleging that the employer has not dismissed them on a fair or, on a procedural fairness or a substantive fairness. And the employer would have to come with the onus on them to prove that the dismissal was a fair dismissal in terms of substance and procedure. So we help employers in that regard. And we also do investigations, investigations for sexual harassment at the workplaces, investigations, for many harassment as well, and some misconduct. And we also draft pleadings, court pleadings. We normally, I normally, when we say lawyers, people think going to court, representing people, and doing all those advocacy. In my firm, we normally, as attorneys, because it's a firm of attorneys, we normally do not do advocacy. We prefer to rather brief advocate. So how it would work is there's attorneys, there's advocates. As attorneys, we prepare the papers, and then we hand over a brief to the advocates to advocate in court. Advocate. So for the advocate to advocate our matters in court. So I normally do not go to court to advocate for our employees. And then we also deal with fatalities. So at the mines, there's quite a number of fatalities. Simply because it's quite a dangerous place to work at. So that also forms a big part of what I do. Going to the mines and having inquiries. So when someone passes at the mine due to a work incident, we go to the mines, we have inquiries, and try to determine what was the cause of death, and determine that help the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy see that the employers has taken all reasonable steps to avoid any hazardous activities and stuff. Okay. Right. So my skills, some of the skills that I think I have learned through this journey is research skills, because being a lawyer is basically, especially an attorney, is basically knowing where to get things, knowing how to get things, and the ability to also adapt in speedy environments, because we deal with quite a lot of matters. And I tell you, 9 hours a day is not enough. You need kind of more than that. So having to be in that pace and still do your work to the best of your ability is quite what I have learned. Attention to detail. It's a big part of what we do, simply because mistakes, and especially grammatical mistakes in being a lawyer, kind of makes you look stupid. Sorry for the word, but it makes you look like you are not, you don't know what you're doing. Critical thinking as well, commercial awareness. I mean, we represent companies and we need to know what other companies out there are on. So that's one of the things. And then some of the challenges that I would face in the profession would be that there's so little time to be a lawyer. And I'm saying that because, like I said, 9 hours in a day is not enough. You need kind of more than that. And I think hence why the long hours come into being. But you have to realize that, in the early stages of every profession, you need to put in the work, you have to put in the hours. I mean, that's how at the end of the day you become an expert. Um, and how I would deal with work stress is I'd normally meditate. Um, I mean, meditation for me would be to be alone sometimes. Sometimes it'd be to be with someone that I feel comfortable to be around and and just talk to them. And I mean, people study law because they've watched some shows. Um, to be honest, really, those shows do not reflect what we do on a day-to-day basis. Law takes time, and if you've watched Suits, for example, you would have realized how transactions in Suits just go by, by snap, 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 snap. That's really how it works. That's not really how it works. It takes time, companies take time to negotiate matters and the like. All right. Okay. Career growth and opportunities. There's definitely a need for lawyers in the profession. Um, you know, um, and I don't think that this will cease to exist anytime soon. There's Black economic empowerment codes that have been introduced, some recently as last year. For because the profession is and speaking of also like the big five law firms or um, many many law firms, they would consist of a large number of white people, and if you are from um, a, a black background, or if you are black as defined in the codes, um, definitely there is an opportunity. And I mean, there's a reason for this. It's the because of the PDH and stuff. But yes. So if you are interested in being a lawyer, um, I would advise first that you sit down, you set up the goal. Um, don't just go into it. Sit down, look at what is required, from the different universities that you would like to go into. Look at what those universities offer, and look at what research, methods are available, and how can it help you, to achieve or realize your goal. And then apply at the relevant university. And then, when you are there, don't settle. You're not a lawyer yet. You're still a student that is trying to be a lawyer. Do your research work. Try learn as much as possible. There's so much in law to do than just being a lawyer. Can be a lawyer. I mean, you can do law and um, you know, like I said, do advocacy, do attorneys, be an in-house, do compliance, do do prosecutions, do clerkings. There's quite a number of things. So sit down, ask yourself what you do in law for, and how where you are helps you, and um apply for articles and apply as early as possible. don't wait until you finish your university. I think I started applying for articles when I was in first year. I had a scholarship, Dell, and they quite helped me a lot. So look for those opportunities. Don't 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 just settle when you are there. Don't just hard work comes with effort. I mean, they go together. It's a you can't separate the two. So you need to understand that I mean, for you to achieve your goals, you need the hard work, you need to have the purpose, you need to be resilient and to have the courage. And there will be moments where, you go for interview and you fail. But you have to understand that it's part of the process. I may have failed more than 6 interviews, and got rejected more than 15 times, when I was still applying for articles. Some in big five law firms, some in middle law firms, but you understand that it's the process. You can't just nothing just comes your way. And again, one important thing is you need to understand that things don't come to you. You get things. And there's this notion that says you you do well, things come to you. No, 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 no. It does not work like that. You look for things. Like you knock and it opens. It doesn't just open. And um yeah, I think this advice I've already said it. So that would be the end of my presentation. You knock, shall open. Thank you, guys. Do you have any questions?
Thank you so much, Mr. Malomani, for that insightful and beautiful presentation. My takeaway is you knock and it shall be opened. You don't just
Mhm.
stand at the door. But thank you so much. I don't know if we have any question from the people at the viewing side. Um, but then in the meantime, I think my question to you is how did you get to overcome like the imposter syndrome of feeling like you do not belong to certain environments, especially coming from a less privileged background where you're not exposed to all of these fancy things and technologies, and now you're in an environment at the University of Pretoria where everyone has been exposed to so many things that you haven't yet been exposed to. How did you get to overcome the imposter syndrome and also get to like balance up and get to reach at the standard of knowledge that everyone was at?
Yeah, thanks, Wale. Um, I think for me, and maybe also this is a part that I should have dealt with, as part of my presentation. For me, Owalu was when I joined University of Pretoria. One of the things that I joined was a program called Just Leaders. So in the Just Leaders program, what happens is it's a course for people, people from disadvantaged backgrounds, for people, with HIV and AIDS, for people with disabilities, for people who are transgenders and other um, other genders, um, who are in a new environment and they're trying to settle in. So it's just so for me, that was, I think, one of the big things that made me overcome and have the courage, to just be myself and not to feel any pressure to be in any type of way, because it's so much easier when in different environments, to be lost in action, in that you start seeing different things you're not exposed to, things you never knew before, but you wanna keep in track. You wanna keep in track with the goals that you've set for yourself. You wanna keep in track with the purpose that you had when you arrived on site, being when you came to the university. So that helped me a lot. And I mean, ended up joining that program as a facilitator and guiding other people as well who came in through. And that said, when you are at university, one of the things that actually matters a lot is to be present, not just academically. I mean, academically good, gotta do your best. But again, be present in extracurricular activities. Try as much as possible to to showcase your skills, to learn things and things outside your degrees, things outside, your comfort zones and stuff. That also helps you when you apply for articles and when you go out to these interviews, because you kind of have that, background and skills from, um, the extracurricular activities. So yeah, thanks, Walu.
Thank you so much. Thank you for stressing the importance of having a community when you arrive in a new place. Communities indeed enable us to grow and also to adapt in new situations, and to shy away from isolation. Isolation really doesn't help in terms of growth. Thank you
Yeah,
so much. I see no question in the chat box. So thank you so much, Mr. Malumani, for your time and such a beautiful presentation. Thank
thank you
you.
so much. Great. Thank you, guys.